Oh, I don't know when you're hitting like
No,
record or
no,
whatever.
you're good to go whenever.
Oh, we're good to
Oh,
go. All right.
yeah. Oh,
It is no,
no.
no. The fix is gonna blow. It is Saturday, May. I was about to say April. No, it's already May 6th,
Yeah.
and it's time for another recollection episode
Woohoo, number
with my
6 or 7.
buddy
Number 6 or 7.
AJ.
Hello.
So AJ survived the T virus. He survived
I'm still
Baltimore.
surviving, trying to.
And he's back, which means the quality of all content has gone up 33.33%.
Oh, I'm
So,
only half of whatever. Half
well,
of your.
there's you,
Huh.
there's me, and then there's Ness. So,
Oh, true.
But so
Ness hasn't
starting
made
the
an
episode
appearance for a
off.
while
Has it been 2 weeks?
since he knocked over the thing. Oh, but he didn't appear in that episode.
No, that was
I cut that.
also Mira. That was the other evil. Yeah, no, Mira's got a big booty, and she definitely like hip checked the thing into oblivion. But so like we always do, we can go over our locals that we just had. We can talk about we had 2 new players, which is awesome. I love seeing new players.
Yep.
We had John and we had Amir. Amir, who ended up taking second place, which is something we can get into in just a moment. But Andrew Mendoza with Fire Lorraine got first. Amir went Wind Lorraine got second, and then Mr. LaPlume got third with Fire Eye, and then I took fourth with Fire Eye.
Look at you making the top 4.
I'm doing my best. So I lost to Amir. That was my first loss, and because he just opened up and he was like, like Vanguard and the typical like vanilla
Horrible Vanguard, and he was he had just built it was like a starter deck, right? Like he had just made it.
I think he bought multiples and just went and was like, I've got a whole army now, and I'm like, that could work. But within like turn 3, he had and we just talked about this. He had the warrior card, the wind warrior card that's like for every human you have out, its cost is reduced by 1, and they do 1 more by swinging in.
Yep.
Trying to pull it up right now. And because there's no sideboard, I did not have any board wipe. Mm-hmm. So I'm just like, well, I have to kill him in like 2 turns or else he's just going to like stomp over me. I actually came very close to beating him. I had 2 arcane explosions in my deck. I had about 6 in the deck, in my hand. I had 8 enlightenment counters on my hero. And I was just like, I just need what is it? Power
Overwhelming or something.
Power Overwhelming, yeah. And I was digging. I did 2 Scry the Skies. I'm through a quarter of my deck and it was just not showing up because I could have popped that arcane. But the Green Legion won the day.
The Green Legion.
The Wind Knights of Lorraine Happiness.
All the humans, the human swarm.
Yeah, and then my other loss was against Mr. LaPlume. We had a Fire Eye Mirror. He did a really good play at the end where I got 22 counters by using the shield against 2 of his nukes, but then he played let's see if we can find it. It's the draw 2 into your memory, and then the mage effect is like collect everything, and he had already put down like 50 cards. So it was a well thought out play, and he blew me up. I got blowed up. And then, but yeah, it was it was a lot of fun, and I posted the video with everyone opening their packs and getting the event packs, and it was pretty hype. Awesome. So it was fun. And then Sunday we have draft, which we'll see how that goes. I think everyone is on the same expectation of this could be like a little messy, or this might take too long. We're just gonna try it, see how it goes, and I'll go from there. But
we're still recovering here, as you said, the T virus.
Mm-hmm. But you were at Baltimore.
I was at Baltimore, probably where I contracted the T virus.
But no, I mean, so was there like a ton of people there? I don't know if like those events sell out. I don't know if like
I
what
think it
their
was very
caps are
close to
like.
selling out for the calling. So for those who don't know, I went to a big Flesh and Blood event in Baltimore. It's the Pro Tour. So the Pro Tour you have to be invited to. I was not invited to, but a couple of the people we went with are actually invited to the Pro Tour. And then there's a big open event called the Calling, which I played in. And the Calling is, is probably like what Ascent wants to be, without going to Ascent. And it's going to be a big open tournament, lots of good prizing. Anyone can join. And there was over 900 people in that Calling, which is a really good turnout. There was over 400 people, I believe, is it 300 to 400 people in the Pro Tour? So that's also really big. I mean, it was a big event. It was pretty cool to have. I did not do well. I had a bit of a snafu with my deck early on. So we had played locals probably I went to a locals like a week before, and I noticed that I was missing 3 cards, and I had not touched Flesh and Blood since then. And then when I went to go fill out my deck list, it was like 80 or 77 out of an 80 card deck, and I was like,
oh, that's right, yeah.
And I was like, that's not good.
Were you
Luckily,
able to?
I knew exactly what cards they were. But funny, a little tangent, funny story. So what happened was I'm filling out my deck list. I don't know this. It's like morning of the event. We're at the venue, and they're like about to call, like we're ready to go in, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm missing 3 sigils of solace. So I run into the event. I find a vendor. I'm like, I need 3 sigils. They're like, they're $1 a piece. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Like, give them to me. Prisoner of the moment. So buy 3 sigils. Then I'm filling out my deck list. Then I'm counting it, because you count the sections or whatever of like reds, yellows, blues for Flesh and Blood. And I'm counting 83. And now I'm going to lose my mind. Because I'm like, how am I 3 over? And so in a panicked hurry, I cut off 1 defensive card each. So 1 Sink Below, 1 Sand Cover, and 1 Fate. And,
you're on Dromai, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I was on Dromai.
Okay.
And I who just happened to sit next to Lewis, another local of ours.
Oh, okay.
And I just threw those 3 cards at Lewis. I was like, Lewis, these aren't supposed to be my deck. Can you hold on to these for now in case I get deck checked? And play my round, win, look back through, like, completely write out my deck list, like card by card, and was like, all right, I'm counting 80 with the 3 cards I gave Lewis. So like, Lewis, give me those back. They're supposed to be my deck. But now my deck list is wrong that I submitted. And so now I'm like, oh, I have to go turn myself in.
Did you?
I did. I gave them the deck list,
okay.
but because it was between rounds and because I did it myself, and like basically all the cards were right, just the amounts were wrong. They were like, it's just a warning, it's fine.
Oh, okay.
So it was a funny story. I was kind of panicked, and then I lost 2 in a row and dropped. So like all that for nothing. But it was a good time.
You had the right.
Yeah.
You had honorable intentions.
I did.
Well respected.
I did beat that player with 77 cards in my deck. Just
Oh, all right. So you were just flexing, sort of, but that's good.
But yeah, that was my Baltimore calling trip.
Okay.
At least as far as like playing, we had a lot of fun in Baltimore. Actually, I mean there was a lot of good restaurants that we ate at. If you're ever in Baltimore, the one place that I'll remember for a long time is called Miss Shirley's. It's a brunch place. It's on it's apparently won a bunch of awards, and it was really, really good. But that was like the highlight of the trip, honestly, was that restaurant.
Oh, okay. Was it you and like the usual group, like you,
Ryan? It was
Evan?
Ryan, Nick, Evan didn't wake up to go.
All right.
Ryan, Nick, Andrew, I think was there. Yeah, Andrew, and then Pedro. Pedro was also there. Oh, and Jamie. Jamie was there too.
Oh, okay.
No, it was a good crowd. No, it was a lot of fun. But that was the highlight of that trip for me. Was that restaurant. Other than that, it was like a pretty okay trip. The one thing it makes me excited for is to travel and compete again for Houston.
Mhm.
To bring it back to Grand Archive. Ascent Houston seems like it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm excited to do that. And I hope that they're able to put together a good event. I'm not expecting it to be Pro Tour level. It took Flesh and Blood 5 years or so to get to this point, but
Yeah.
um, so far I think the devs have been pretty open about like what they want out of the event, and I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be good. They've done a good job hosting all these online tournaments, and it'll be interesting to see it, in person.
Yeah, and I do know that I think they said it was like a kind of what Final Fantasy has done for some of their events. I mean, it's like one of the ballrooms that they rent out, so it's not like they're going insanely overboard,
Convention center and
but enough to like satisfy probably like the amount of people that are going, which I'm guessing is probably going to be like a few hundred.
I'm expecting
Something
between
like that.
2 and 3 if I had to put a guess on it.
Yeah,
Two
yeah,
and three
that's
hundred.
kind of what I was thinking. So yeah, they can start with that, and then if it's a success and they're comfortable with that, it's a good way to do it. Um, I was looking at a couple of cards, something that kind of goes with our locals that I thought was funny. Do you know the card Increasing Danger? You draw a card, and
Yeah,
then
it's like you draw a
everyone puts
card
in the
and
memory.
then both players put a card on their deck into their memory.
Yeah, there was Alex and I doing that where it was like turn two, and he's like increasing danger, and then it's my turn, and I'm like increasing danger, and you just see the memory just like growing and growing.
You're like one of us is
Um,
dying pretty quickly here.
yeah, that so it seems like starting maybe about a week ago, or maybe with last Thursday, like now all the fire players are playing a full spread of that to get card advantage. Whereas leading up until like last week, I think everybody was like, you need 4 hasty messengers. Like that's a requirement. And now I think Josue was like the only person playing it. He's still just trying to rack up as much fire graveyard as you can
Yeah.
get, but I think everybody else has moved on to like a different play method. So it's just again like with it's happening to some other cards as well, but it's interesting seeing everyone kind of shifting and
Well,
adapting.
there was a big tournament on Discord. I think it was their biggest tournament yet. I want to say it was close to 100 or over 100. It was a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And just looking at the fire list that won, oh, I do see a haste. They were playing 3 hasty messenger.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I don't see any. Uh, the card you just said,
Oh, increasing
increasing danger.
danger. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
No, yeah. I mean, it looks like it's pretty much a version of the deck that just wants to kind of hit you in the face really hard. I mean, but that's
Yeah,
like the deck in general, right?
yeah. I think the thing was trying to remember his online name. He got third. He was a Fire Eye. He's one of the admins in the Discord, and I used to play a ton of Street Fighter V with him. Um, he made an Arcane Rye deck, but the problem with Arcane Rye that a lot of people were having was you're racing to hit level 3.
Yep.
And you're losing a lot of cards in the process, and that's even if you use Dungeon Guide. Increasing Danger is just a nice way to get card advantage while like ramping up.
Yeah.
And because it plays no witches, you're not cremating anything. You're not doing any of that stuff. You're just ramping, but it's like an easier way to do it. Plus, you're not giving a Win Lorraine a chance to draw cards off of your allies. So, no, it worked out pretty well. I think Jimmy Lee got
Jimmy
eighth.
Lee got 8th. He did it on a fire.
Yeah. So it was. He's not a local per se. He's probably like a couple hours out
Yeah,
from where
he's
we
out.
are. But
It's like they call it South Florida, but it's really West Florida.
oh, okay. Is he near Tampa?
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Okay. But no, it was cool seeing his name pop up. I was not surprised when it said Lorraine. I know he's a big warrior person, like I typically am. Although I started playing Rye, and it's just even when I lose, it's a lot of fun doing like the wombo combos and just, to be honest, just blowing people up
Yeah,
like
I
out of
agree.
nowhere.
I get what you're saying.
They get that look on their face where you're like, all right, let me set this up, and you like doing all this funny business, and then they're just like, I'm dead, aren't I? And you're like, yeah, but let me show you. And then you do that.
I really like this win Lorraine that got 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth, uh, fifth through eighth anyway. I think it's just the kind of deck that I would play in a tournament where it's like that I usually typically enjoy in card games where it's like almost like a build your board. You have a board state, whereas I feel like the fire deck doesn't as much. I mean, you anytime you have a fire a board state in the fire deck, I feel like you don't have it for very long because you're cremating it. You're killing your own stuff to draw two or whatever, and so I really like this like kind of human centered win deck and plays like Phalanx Captain or Phalanx if I'm saying that wrong.
Oh, that's fine.
Ghost of Pendragon, Tactful Sergeants, just a bunch of human cards, 4 Banner Knights, 4 Dungeon Guide, which I think you can get away with it because they're not completely useless, being a human as well.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Like after, once you do the Dungeon Guide thing, they're kind of like not as good.
Mm-hmm. What's your style line? Like a 1/3? 1/3.
It's a 1/3, yes. It's got a big butt. So, but not too bad. I really like this deck. I might build this. I was debating on either this or Win or Fire Lorraine going forward, but I think I might build this just because I think I actually have most of these cards already. I think I would only need like an extra Beseech the Winds and 4 Zephyrs.
Oh, okay. That also seems like a more stable deck where you can't in a room where you can't side deck. Whereas Fire's like, I'm either gonna murder you or I'm gonna have like a terrible time. There's no like balance to it. It's just
best of one at locals is kind of rough, right? I mean, it feels like a game like this is really meant to be played with a sideboard. And not being able to it's unfortunate, but it's just kind of the framework we have to live in, right? It's kind of like if we're gonna play on a Thursday night, I mean, I don't think we're getting 4 1-hour rounds in, and even if you don't take into account like our locals and how quick or slow they play, just getting 4 hours in at maximum efficiency is rough starting at 6:30, 7 o'clock. So.
No, I agree, and the game also embraces the fact that every character or element is very flexible, so you can play it multiple ways, which just opens the window for like, oh, I didn't prepare for how this person's playing. I'm gonna get like blown out.
Right. It's best of one definitely opens you up to any kind of rogue strategy, like any kind of like someone finds a way, like kind of like the only rogue strategy I can think of right now, at least in our locals, is Fire Sylvie.
Yes. Yeah.
Tim playing Fire Sylvie. So, again, I haven't been in like a month. It feels like because sickness and trip and then sickness again. But I do remember he was, he did really well that one day. So,
he even it was like just casual. I played against it, and I didn't know what he was playing, but it was like turn 3 or 4, and he's like, "All right, Rhapsody for like 14. The squirrel's gonna bite you for 4," and like he just blew me up, and I'm like, "Oh,
the squirrel's gonna bite you for 4."
Yeah, I'm just like, all right, wasn't I hadn't even hit like level 3 because you could say like, well, you could have shielded for like the Rhapsody, and it's like, right, but you have to be arcane, which I wasn't ready for that on like turn 3. So
right.
Yeah, no, like I think what might happen with locals is well, first we'd have to figure out how we could do it on a better time, but one path might just be at some point we just force it where it's like, okay, we're doing best of 3 now, and like the judge will have to enforce like, okay, this is the amount of time you have. Like, there's no
dilly
dally. It is what it is, right? But I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, the hardest thing is just finding like a day in the week that we can get the most people attend to. They can stay the latest. Also, like people who are working, which is usually like Grantley and Matt, like they have families to go home to. So like,
Yeah, but
Huh.
we're used to other. You got to be like the card shops that stay open till the tournament's over, man.
All right. Well, then we're doing it
Let's
just like
go.
that. Just like that.
I remember Pokemon going until like it's just really funny because you'd have like kids come in. Evan was one of them. Funny enough, it was a school
Mhm.
night, and we would get to top 8, and he's like, "All right, I gotta go," and it's kind of messed up because
Oh,
Evan
I
was
think he
like
told me he used to
Evan
do
was
this
like
too.
13. I didn't do this to him once. A lot of people did
Mhm.
though. They'd be like, "All right, player split," and as soon as you get to the person, like, "Oh, am I playing Evan?" They're like,
Oh, I
like
see.
yeah,
Because
and
he
they'd
has
be
to
like,
go.
yeah,
Yeah.
they'd be like, "Play." It's a free win.
Yeah.
And so,
All right. It's like, what are you gonna do about that?
I mean, that's just a little side tangent, but
No, that's fine.
I do think it'll be rough at first. I think also getting in a best of 3 to some people, especially some decks, right? Like I think if you're playing like a water Xander, your deck you need to build your deck. I think with a little bit more of a win condition. Because a lot of times their win condition is to like just get like incremental advantage over the course of a bunch of turns.
Hmm.
I don't know if how much that's going to work in a best of 3. I do know in a lot of other games, even in Magic, if you're playing like blue white control, you're kind of expected like that's where the skill of knowing when to scoop comes into play because it's to the blue white player slash water Xander slash whatever player's advantage to only win game 1 and then game 2 doesn't finish.
Hmm.
Because then you win the series, right? You win the best of 3. I believe that's how that works. Um, I
Yeah.
don't know if that's still true with Grand Archive. I would want to say it has to be, but I don't know for sure. Um, but if you win that game 1 and then game 2 doesn't finish, then you're just like, well, I won game 1, so I'm 1-0 in this series.
Yeah. I imagine in that context, you won round one, so that's kind of like worth a point, and then you both lose round two, so at least you got the win, so
Yeah,
that
like
should
nothing
like
happens. So you get the
carry
match
over.
point basically.
Yeah.
Um, and so the thing is like if you lose round 1 as that water player, then suddenly you have to like play faster, and if your deck doesn't have a
Mhm.
way to win the game faster, then
Right.
so it's just something to think about if we ever do get to best of 3s at locals.
Yeah, and I was just laughing because I was imagining you win against a water player like round one, and then the water player is like, all right, round two, and you're like, oh, so now you want to go
Oh,
fast, huh? All
now we're in
right.
a hurry. Now we're in
Got
this
to
big
go to the
rush.
fridge to buy a drink. Got to use the restroom. Got to call your
Got
grandma.
to take
Like just
17 minutes sideboarding, you know?
yeah, just whatever whatever you got to do. Um, so let's see. Also, we were discussing it earlier, but wanted to move into just how I wouldn't say it's too different from other card games, but like just how the market's going. Some of the prices of these foils, we knew foils weren't going to be cheap
Yeah,
because you
but
only
just
get
because
three to four
you
out
get
of a
3.
box.
I do think I know you're not done being a host, sorry, but
Oh, go,
I
go.
I do think foils will eventually creep down in price. I'm not saying they'll tank or crash, but as these event packs that have a higher chance to get foils are opened, you're going to have more of a population of them. And I think at least your commons and rares and uncommon foils will probably start to creep down,
Mhm.
aside from like the really important ones like Dungeon Guide or Failings Captain or any of the important rares for a deck. Uh, but and maybe even like the super rares might come down a little bit, right? So if a super rare is $50 now, it might be 40, then 35, and maybe touch 30 or something like that. I just think it's going to help as we open more of these event packs.
Yeah, there was a prime example of that. So Andrew got first. He opened his prize packs. I think he got like four gold ones, and he opened three foils. And I'm like, that's just like opening
A
an entire
box.
booster
Yeah, yeah.
box. And that just no, it's exactly what you said. There's going to be a ton of foils pouring in. Um, I was both as a player and a store owner. It was very surprising though seeing some of the prices. I remember telling you I was like, yeah, I pulled a Orb of Regret foil. That's like $50, and you're like, well, boy, it's actually double that. And I was like, are you serious?
I
$100?
was like, I think you
And
got fleeced, my man.
yeah, I was like, $100. I saw the Young Beast Spawner foils go from $14 to $75 like in a couple days.
Well,
Um,
looking at one of the cards I want, just pulled up TCG Player. So my favorite art, I think, from Alter is Frostworn Paladin.
mhm.
It's awesome.
No,
I think
I
it's gonna
think
be a
it's
really good card too going forward. Like it's Cleric Warrior Human, Frostworn Paladin. You know, you on enter, banish a floating memory, gains a buff counter. It has intercept, which is kind of like taunt, except for
mhm.
getting taunt. So maybe I shouldn't say that, but it protects you. Big thing, 3/4. Four is a kind of a break point. A lot of things hit for
Yeah,
three,
three
hitting.
four is a very good stat line. Yeah.
Um, and water gets a lot of extra floating memory, and they need something to do with it. And this is what you do with it right now with the extra. So anyway, uh, I was like, oh, I kind of want a playset of these eventually. One of them is $40. So.
Yeah, which is I think I think a lot. I mean, most people aren't too aware of Grand Archive, but I think a lot of people from other card games would be like, "Well, why?" And you're like, "Oh, it's rare," and they're like, "But it's only a rare, and does it?"
It's an uncommon. That's what makes it crazy.
Oh, it is. Let me pull it up. Yeah. Now the thing is, despite the rarity, if you were opening a box and you were like, "I'm looking for this foil," you have like the same chance. It's still super hard to get it, despite it being an uncommon. I don't know if it's harder to get SR foils than it is common foils, but like nailing down specifically getting that a foil of your choice is pretty tough.
I mean, meanwhile, Tide Diviner, this is where I think the market just doesn't know what to do with itself yet.
Mhm.
Because Tide Diviner is a rare, so not an uncommon. You can't even claim waifu tax because they're both waifus on this card, on these
Yeah.
cards. This is only $20 foil, so half the price, and it's a rare. And I would
Yep.
say this card is much more important in water decks with its effect. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the
No,
art,
it's.
but
I think you were exactly right. We have to let things settle a bit. Um, on that same note, well, kind of like I think I'm at like 8 or 9 boxes I've opened, and it's a foil, but I have one Tide Diviner.
you have a
Nine
foil Tide
boxes.
Diviner.
But that's my one card. I want a play set,
Hey,
and I've
friendo.
pulled
let me get,
one.
let me grab that.
Oh my goodness.
How much is regular Tide Diviner is like $6,
Yeah.
$5. That's crazy.
But see, like even that,
I think
I
that's
know
too
it's a
much for a
good
rare.
card,
That's a
but
lot.
I'm like $6, but it's selling. You can clearly see. Like I know we sold a ton of them at the store. I think
I, th-
actually we're sold out at Haven, but
I think another issue for Grand Archive is just straight up availability. Um,
mhm.
Something that I hope that they kind of figure out. Now, I don't want it to be. There's a line, and it's probably I've never ran a trading card company. I think in all the podcasts I've been a part of, I've said that line a lot. Is that I've never started or ran a trading card company, but one of the things I've noticed that's very difficult that you have to toe the line between overprinting, like printing to oblivion, and keeping boxes with value, right? So
Mhm.
and keeping people happy. And you're never going to make everyone happy, but when I say making people happy, I mean your players have to be happy. If there's no one playing this game dies.
All right,
Um,
yeah.
and of course, no one. I'm not saying I'm not one of those people that I think every play piece should be no more than $2 and whatever. No, I'm not saying that. What I am saying, a rare being $5, so a $20 playset for a rare, and we're not even talking about supers or what else you need for your deck. It's something that can be off-putting to a new player when you start seeing that, especially for a new card game. You're like, hey, I want you to try this card game, and then they see that and they're like, I don't know, man. Like, you want me to get into a new card game, but I just looked up the price of this deck, and it's like it's over $500, and this game just came out. Like, I get
Mhm.
it. Trading card games they're a luxury hobby. They're not, you know, it's not a necessity at all. This is all, but like when you're talking about like people are trying to, decide where to spend their money, when you start comparing, there's a lot of trading card games in the market now, and there's a lot hitting. We have, the big 3 to 4, if you want to count Flesh and Blood. And then you have all these other card games coming out, and I hope that, and I'm optimistic when I say this, which, as you know, that's kind of rare for me to be optimistic.
I applaud you.
I hope they figure it out in terms of just I should be able to walk into a store and buy a box, which I hear in a lot of places is not possible. If I want to buy a box of just the most current set that's out, I should not have a problem with that in my head. I know it's a new card game and they have to figure it out. But that's going to be the biggest thing I think that stunts growth of a card game is just literal being able to buy a box.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. That was a bit of a rant.
No, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with what you said. And with the prices, like, it's weird. We were talking about Dungeon Guide like yesterday. How I think Dungeon Guide, I think every player needs them.
You should have a playset. Not every deck will run a playset. They usually run 2 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't hurt. It's a very powerful effect. It's almost an effect that I think could be banned in the future. I think.
Well, it's always going to be relevant.
Yeah.
Because leveling up is like a key part of the game.
Especially going from 2 to 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because then it's like actual value that you're getting out of it. But something I noticed was like you have cards like that and Tide Diviner and a few others that are like the unfoils are like $5, $6, $7 a pop. But pretty much everyone who's opened a box at the store, including myself, you're opening them and you're like, I know I get one UR, so I'm excited for it. And it's Majestic Spirit's Crest, and you're like, this is garbage.
Or it's like my 4th one.
Right. Like I have like 6 in my trade binder, and I'm like, I don't even think anyone wants this. I'm just gonna give it to like a new player or something. You pull Guy's Blessing. Huh?
Which is nice. I mean,
yeah, but for the hit, like it's Majestic Spirit's Crest. Guy's Blessing is another card. I know Devin's gotten like 6 of them, and he's just like, I'm so over it. Like,
it's a weird world where they only have 5, and you're guaranteed 1 in a box. I don't want to say this because it's like it's the legendary problem, right? It's like the opposite of it. So like legendaries and Flesh and Blood. I know that's going to be the game that I probably bring up the most because it's the most.
I mean, yeah, go for it.
But I'm just saying. So legendaries in Flesh and Blood are like 1.2 per case, right? So typically you open a case, you'll get 1. Sometimes you get 2. Sometimes you get 0, which is real feels bad. But a case is 4 boxes. And this game, I believe, a case is 6 boxes. I wonder if the legend or the URs were more close, not all the way. I know I just complained about price, but maybe if the prices of URs were more expensive, the rest of the deck would fall.
Mm-hmm.
Because you'd have, like a chase playable, and then people are ripping open boxes. And I know that's kind of what they're hoping for with collectible cards.
Yeah.
I know that's what they're hoping with collectible cards, but not everyone cares about collectible cards, especially when you make them as hard as they've been. That's kind of been my argument, is that they're almost so hard I don't care. Like I'm not chasing anything because there's no way I'm gonna get it. Is like if I get it, great. I'm not gonna chase it though. But if they were like 2 per case, so like 1 in every 3 boxes, even getting a Majestic Spirit's Crest would feel better because you're like, oh, these are much more rare, and even though I don't play it, it has value. Where I feel like eventually these URs are going to have no value except for the specifically like ones that are generic that are really good, like Grand Crusader's Ring, and foil versions, right? Because they're so rare.
Yeah, the foil versions, even Majestic Spirit's Crest, like the foil version's worth a lot. So
yeah. So, but the thing is, you open a Majestic Spirit's Crest, you're 1 in a box, and it's worth $10, and you're like, well, neat.
Right.
On that, like, what else?
Because
yeah. I mean, right now, your value's in the supers outside of foils, right? So mostly in the supers. Like Ghost of Pendragon's $12.
In Soul is like my first altered box had a foiled and soul, and I was like,
let's go.
I know that's like a really good hit. I don't know how much it's worth right now. I guess I can look it up real quick.
I'll tell you right now. I already got it.
Yeah, foiled
You
and
want
soul.
it? You want it? It's $80.
Yeah, there you go. That's like
Pay
a good
for the
hit.
box.
But yeah, like now I'm not saying Majestic Spirits Crest is bad.
I mean, it's played in the win deck.
Swing, right? Like it's not bad, but there's something about getting, like I said, like Guy's Blessing. You're just like, all right, at least the art's pretty. But that being said, I love the art on Tome of Sacred Lightning, like the alt.
The new one is
version.
very good.
And on top of that, even though it's not worth a lot, if you're playing Rye, you are absolutely playing that card. It's
see, they
like
are
fantastic.
playing it. I was just checking to see it was still in the top decks, but yeah, it's definitely being played.
Because paying one, Scry the Skies, and you pitch an Arcane, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to banish that, gain a level, draw a card. Like it's just very easy to use. Passive +1 level. But
that all being said,
yeah,
I know it kind of sounds like I was critical, and I was a little bit, but at the same time, they're a small company, and I know that's kind of a meme for a lot of other companies, but no, they truly are a small company, and I think they've handled the launch almost as well as they can for probably what their resources are, not knowing, again, what their resources are, but no, I think they've done a pretty good job navigating the water so far. I just hope they continue to do that and do it well and get the cards in the hands of the players. That's all I want. I've seen already a couple times and a lot of it's stores too. Sometimes you go into certain stores and they're like, hey, can you carry this new game? I'll even buy it, and they're like, we carry the big three here and that's it. We're not doing any of that. So
right.
I get that. I've heard it's like sold out at distro and sold out at a lot of stores, and it's hard to get already, and like, this is not what you want to hear at a brand new card game. I mean, it's like a double-edged sword. It's kind of what you want to hear because you're like, oh, it's sold out. That means it's selling.
Right.
But at the same time, you're like, oh, this game's really hot right now. I want to try and get into it. And they're like, well, we don't have any. So like,
yeah, it's definitely a weird situation. Again, and no matter what my position is, if I was to look at Grand Archive and there was just like a mountain of it on the shelf, I'm like, oh, clearly
it's not doing well.
So like I don't want to play it. But when there's no boxes, if you don't know better, you might even say like you might not even know Grand Archive exists because there's no boxes. There's nothing there to grab your attention.
Yep.
But hopefully they get that figured out, and it'll be interesting to see how. I hope I'm remembering it right. Fractured Crown, FTC, Federal Trade Commission. Yes, there you go. Hopefully, I mean that works out great as far as distribution goes and all that. Which with the guaranteed collector rare, I have a feel like I'm going in for a case. I'm sure most people are doing the same. But
and I will piggyback off your case.
All right, we'll work it out. What was I gonna say?
I actually haven't opened any Grand Archive since Alter. I need to. Right, well, I'm gonna go and buy a box at some point.
I'll see you at the store after this video, and I'll spot you one. But
do you want to see me at the store after this video?
Yeah, just well, it
I'll wear my hazmat suit.
Sure.
I think we're getting derailed a bit.
I was thinking of you walking into the store and there's that Flesh and Blood event going on, and you're just walking in with like the Back to the Future suit on.
Oh, I was thinking Darth Vader.
And everyone's like, what? And you're like, Grand Archive box, please. Those anime guys are weird. I
mean, if you're gonna spot me a box, I'll find my way to the Haven.
That's the spirit.
Stay in my car and just open the trunk like Target, like you just put it in the back.
I'll run out and just toss it in there.
Thanks for the delivery, mister.
I'll throw the PS5 in there with it.
Let's go. I can play 16.
A good week. You brought it up kind of quickly, but I did want to. I think it's our last major topic: the supporter packs that they announced on Discord days ago. I would like to start this conversation with Whenever there's like a tag everyone, I'm like, oh, there's like a
What
new
is it?
announcement.
Yeah.
Cool. Is it Christmas? And I didn't even see the link. I didn't see the image. All I saw in blue Discord reacts was whale, and I was like, oh god, what now? And it was the supporter packs. They are new packs that they're going to have available at key events around the country. They're going to have it at Ascent Houston. And it's a very small set. I think it's like 22 cards or something like that. Of gorgeous, absolutely amazing looking alt arts for current cards. And there's 3 new collector.
Pulling it up right now. I'll get you the. I'll call out the highlights.
Okay.
So my camera's doing the thing again. No.
Oh, it'll be all right. Lose some time traveling.
You'll just see me in reverse. So the highlights are product information. Each pack contains 3 cards, 2 uncommon cards, 1 rare higher card. Each box of supporter pack 1 consists of 8 packs. Rarity distribution, there's 21 card set, has 6 uncommons, 7 rares, 4 super rares, and 4 collector super rares. MSRP, $30 per box, 1 foil in every 8 packs, 1 collector rare in every 25 boxes.
Mm-hmm. Well, there you have it. And when that was put on Discord, very quickly, like within like a minute, there were 2 armies forming. You had
in the Grand Archive Discord.
Yeah, in the Grand Archive Discord, you had one side that was like, well, I'll have to like max out all my credit cards, but I am buying 1 million of these as fast as I can. It's the best idea ever. And then you had the opposing side that was like, this is not what I wanted. It's very hard to get these packs. Everybody's gonna flip them for easy money. Everyone, like, we all really want to collect this, but this is incredibly difficult.
Right, because it's only at events and like things like Ascent. So it's at when they go to like these anime conventions and when they host their big tournaments.
Yep. Along with that, they didn't give any details, but it's on a limited basis. You can't show up and be like, I'm buying the whole stock and I'm going to go retire. Yeah, that's a good thing. But the take I had on it, I am very in the middle, which I hate being in the middle. But the thing is,
pick a side, centrist.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping I don't know if I would imagine they have access to this data, but I was hoping, kind of biased as a store owner, they would take all the stores that are maybe on the current radar, the website radar they have, or stores that have clearly been active, or they're showing they've been hosting locals, and they would provide those stores so they could, they've been dedicated, and that increases kind of the relationship between Weebs of the Shore and
LGS, yeah.
And then they could support it that way. But no, you got to travel to these events. I mean, I looked up Anime Expo, which we were just talking about, and it's like, sorry, it's sold out. So I'm like, great, no chance of getting those
on there. And they're going to be flipped for at least probably like $100 a box from that event.
All right. I think it's at Gen Con too.
I just said they're going to be at Gen Con. I don't know if these boxes will travel with them. The only other one I think we have confirmed is Houston Ascent.
Yeah. Now that being said, because I was talking to some of the people on the Grand Archive community Facebook page, and it wasn't like we were arguing and they weren't white knighting. It was nothing like that. But it was they were saying like, hey, it's a collector thing. First off, if you try to use these in the Silver League,
they're worth less. I know that.
Yeah, they're worth less. Also, this doesn't affect gameplay at all. There's nothing unique in here. So it's not like, I have my complaints, but I also think the art's amazing. It's great for collecting, and the funds go towards supporting.
I was gonna say that was on my list of positives. So directly from their website, verbatim, I'll just read it. The sales of SP1 will directly fund efforts in our organized play programs and premier level events. This includes more LGS support, more promotional cards, and increased cash prize pools. The one thing I will say about that, it's a little vague. Kind of, I would imagine most of their revenue, not most of their revenue, but like a portion of the revenue already does that. So just any more revenue, it's kind of like just saying like, we already use some of our revenue to do this, but most of this revenue is going to be also to do that. It's going to make it better, right? So, I mean, that's good. What I will say, because I was on the camp very much that I love every card in this set. I don't think there's like one Hurricane Sweep looks a little weird the way she's holding the sword.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I love like every alt art in this set. It's really cool. I like everything they've done. I like that a lot of the cards that had like abstract art, like Fireball and Zephyr, actually have characters
Yes.
in them now.
Yeah.
Stillwater Patrol looks like Darkness from Konosuba. Veteran Soldier looks like Dorinthia, and so does Esteem Knight. uh, but either way, they just look good. Every card is good art. Especially the collector rares. That Gildas is wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
um, though a lot of times I have to say like, who's the target? Am I the target? And then if I'm not the target, then like who is, right? So I guess my point is like it feels like it's another product that it's not for me. And I don't mean it's not for me as in like I wouldn't buy it if I had access to it. Like if I go to Ascent and they're there, I'll probably buy them.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like for a lot of people, it's like, yeah, we want you to play Grand Archive, but you can't afford this version of Grand Archive. It's the same argument I think a lot of people have collector boxes for Magic. It's like, yeah, you can play that peasant Magic with like regular
Yeah.
poopy draft boxes or whatever, or you can get like the fancy cards that are for people. And again, we started it off. This is a luxury hobby. Cards are gonna cost a lot. I get it. But like, who's your target again? Is it people playing the game at the local game store, or is it whales, or is it both? Right. So I guess there's just some products that aren't going to be for everyone, and whenever you hear that, it rubs you the wrong way when you're like, oh, I'm the part of the not. This isn't for everyone. I'm
Yeah.
part of the not everyone this time. So
No. Oh, I'm sorry. Just to like kind of like
yeah.
directly piggyback on that. Like my issue is like let's say we had it at the Haven and I was just a customer. I come in, I'll buy a box, I'll have a great time, and then I paid more for it, but like that's up to me and whatever. The issue is like I want to get one of these boxes, and they're like, oh yeah, just travel to one of these events. I'm like, okay, so I'm flying. I have to get a hotel,
Correct.
food.
Correct.
I probably don't want to go alone. So it's not that I'm paying 30 for a box. I'm paying like $1,000 to get access to this.
Yeah. It's the access that's the issue, right? It's not the price. Right. They could have probably priced this box way more. I'll be honest. They probably could have made this a $50, $60 box. And kudos on them. They didn't. So,
yeah.
But at the same time, like just the access to it, the distribution of it is the only real issue I have with it.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if they said whether or not it will be available on their Discord shop thing. I don't know.
It just says the product will primarily be sold at official Grand Archive events as well as some events hosted by our partners. I don't know what that means, but
yeah. I mean, I was gonna say if it's available on the Discord, that's awesome because like don't have to travel for that. That's like my big issue with it.
Now,
but,
one thing, sorry, it just popped in my head.
Yeah, go.
One thing I will say is this product completely avoids distribution. So that's probably allowing them to go. What they're saying is going to go towards like all the organized play and stuff. So getting to skip distribution, that middleman, and just sell it directly. That's probably like why they can keep the price low and still use it as that.
Oh, that's a good
Then so I mean that's a part of it. I just wish, like you said, but I guess like at that point, if they do go through, if they send it to stores, then either they're doing it through a distributor, which is a middleman, or they're doing it direct to store, right? They're shipping it themselves, which is another added cost of like shipping and tracking. And so I don't know. It just rubs me a little bit the wrong way. I kind of wish they had found other ways to distribute these cards and maybe get money out of it. I don't know, but I don't hate it so much that I'm not going to buy it if I end up at a Descent, which I should be at Houston. So
right. So at least in our case, we will be getting a hold of them, right. But it's also just like and hey, I have faith in this company and all that, but is a
Right.
slippery slope because who knows when
Well, it's like Secret
this,
Lairs, right? It actually just reminds me exactly of Secret Lairs.
yeah,
It is a secret lair, like that you have to buy at a convention. Like it's direct
because,
from Weebs. It's not through an
mhm.
LGS. As an LGS, you
And
get no direct, other than maybe reselling it at the store or whatever. I don't know
right,
what the plans are there, but you get no direct assistance from this product. Like this does not help you in any real way,
mhm,
outside of doing what you would do for a secret lair, which is buy it and then hold it and then sell it later.
right.
So,
Um,
so
I guess
just
it's
something to
not
think
directly
about.
related to these cards in particular, but I just like putting it out there anyway. We've talked about it with Flesh and Blood. I just hope so. We have our SRs and our URs and our
Uh huh.
collector rares. I don't want like Omega collector rares and alt art
Kind
super.
of like what Flesh and Blood does do most of the time. Now they kind of broke that with Command and Conquer and giving it a Fabled or whatever, but
Mm,
most of the time, the first version is the best version, and then they downgrade it from there, which I kind of like. It's
mhm,
like if you want the playable one, you'll get it eventually. Or like, I mean, even like they'll reprint stuff, but they'll reprint it either non-foil or white border or whatever,
mm,
so that you don't feel like you feel like if you do invest in the collector version of a card, you're not like, well, yeah, but like who knows? Like 10 years from now, we get this like not even 10, maybe like 5 years from now, we get this like, oh, we're re-releasing set one, but it's got Omega rares that are like serialized again or
right.
whatever.
They
Like,
drive your car for you and like all that stuff. I mean, a good example of that was you just said the collector rare version, Gildas.
Gildas, yeah.
Like
Gildas.
I pulled a foil of that out of a box and I was like, it looks stunning. It's a good card. I'm so happy I pulled it. And then I saw that
And
collector
now it's
rare
not max
version
rarity anymore.
and I'm like, oh, so now it's just like now again, that's up to like everybody. That's like their own opinion. I mean,
Correct.
it
Some
doesn't
people want the one from the box more because it's like harder to get, right?
right, yeah. But we're just going over like what some people may think or you know, just it'll be interesting to see what their plans are because they were kind of vague, like you said, on certain things like our partners. I'm like, I don't exactly know what that
Like, does
means. I
that
don't know.
count when the Haven gets a store championship? Are they going to send you like 10 of these to sell at the Haven?
Right,
Who
and then they
knows?
may be
Like,
like, "Remember when you were crying during that video? Well, here you go. Now you can shut your face." But no, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out, how much it's going to cost. I would be very happy if they do put it on the Discord sale, which apparently should be soon. I think they said right after um, Dawn of Ashes
yeah,
released.
we should be getting a merch day eventually.
Hmm. So yeah, let me see. Other than that, I think that kind of covered everything. I think in our next video we'll recap how a draft goes. It could be a disaster. It could be a party.
I
We'll
definitely will be
see.
excited to hear about it. I've unfortunately with everything going on, I will not be able to make it. I don't think I should be passing cards around to people.
It's very responsible of you. I don't think I'll be hosting it, so I don't think I'll be playing. But I will be yelling at people to hurry up. It's a draft. We've got games to play after a six-pack draft. So
Hopefully
uh,
though, the games are actually, I mean, it's kind of weird, right? So you don't expect people to get to level 3 most of the time,
what
from what I understand.
right. The biggest recommendation that both weebs and people who have drafted are saying is to play Lineage Break Hero
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
because
mean, that's what they're for, from what I
yeah.
understand, is that
Hmm.
uh it's like because you're not expected to get to level 3, and so, and I think that's why when you open a pack, there's usually not many advanced element cards in a pack, and they're
Right.
only uncommon or higher.
If you try to draft for for Crux cards and to hit level 3 Lorraine, like you're probably not going to be able to. I imagine they'll get passed because of that. So maybe one person can bank on
Well,
everyone
it's
passing
also,
it.
you don't have to get level 3 Lorraine. You have to get level 1 Lorraine, level 2 Lorraine. Like,
Oh, right. Yeah.
the thing about the lineage break heroes, you can be anyone from the start. You can be Rye, you can be Lorraine, you can be Sylvie, you can be whatever. Because you can go
Mm-hmm.
from Sylvie to Mordred. It doesn't matter. Um, Whereas to go into level 3 Lorraine, you have to be Lorraine the whole time. So you need to
Yep.
draft level 1 Lorraine, level 2 Lorraine, level 3 Lorraine, all in lineage. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I think it gets a little difficult, especially if someone else, even one other person at the table has the same idea as you is trying to do that. Now you're fighting over the same lineage cards. It's
Right.
rough.
It's gonna get messy. But yeah, other than that, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I say that about everything, but like, I just I wasn't thinking about draft for like the whole time we were testing this game before it came out and everything.
I know they had mentioned it, but I'll be completely honest, like 100% honest. When we were testing the game and everything, and when we were doing, it felt like a lot of other anime games. Even though I know it's anime art, but Western inspired, it
Mm,
didn't feel built for draft. Like just honestly, like the packs feel small. And when I say small, just the amount of cards. Like most draft packs in other games are 15 cards.
mm-hmm.
Um,
I think it's 12. Is
yeah, I
that
think so. And just the way things are like hard locked to a color, which I know in Flesh and Blood you're hard locked to a class, so it's kind of similar. But just only having 12 cards per pack, and then the way like
mm,
the material deck works, it just felt like it felt closer to Yu-Gi-Oh than it did to Magic. And Yu-Gi-Oh has no draft at all. There's no such thing. There was like a product they had tried to do. I forget the
mm,
name of it. It failed horribly because Yu-Gi-Oh is just not built for draft. It just isn't. Um, and that's kind of how I felt about this game. Now that being said, I've never done it, so I really am excited to hear. I will be all your audience that
oh,
next
darn.
week, ready to hear all about how draft went. Um, and I think that about does it for us. I do want to say, I think a lot of this video came. I might have sounded a little critical or harsh, but really it just comes from a place of like caring and wanting the game to do well. Um, and I may not have all the right answers, but I do just want players to be able to get the cards that they need at a reasonable price, play the game, have fun.
Yeah, they should be able to show up to their locals and do business. No, and I think if we didn't care about the game, we wouldn't be discussing this, positive or negative. We'd just be like, who cares?
Right. We were
Let's go
recording
watch
like
Pop
30
Up.
minutes longer than I thought. It's an hour.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, it is. Okay. So on that note, yeah, no, great doing the video with you. It was nice to be host. You were a great support. Thank you.
Yes.
Best white mage NA.
White
Thank you.
mage.
What support do you want to be?
I don't know. I played dancer, I guess.
Oh, you're a lovely dancer. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
But yeah, we'll be back in the next episode. Thanks, everybody.